Hey everybody, this is Miles. Miles is your friend, he's your colleague, he might even be you. The older and downtrodden millennial, exhausted of being a slave to the corporate world, sitting in a cubicle all day, and saying some weird statements that really shouldn't be normal in a workplace, like, we really screwed the pooch, in between discussions about the weather. Miles is a staple of the Nintendo world because Miles currently represents a majority of what remains of the Nintendo fandom. Or at least the Western Nintendo fandom. As of 2025, there are currently fewer young adults purchasing video game consoles, with a whopping 43% of US video game hardware purchases being made by households that make six figures plus. In comparison, in the previous year, that number was only at 36%, so you can probably figure that the biggest hardware shift that happened over the course of the following year was the launch of the Nintendo Switch 2. That percentage changing makes a lot of sense. Because let me tell you, we millennials love our Nintendo consoles. And Nintendo loves us. They've marketed their consoles for us from the very beginning, for better or for worse. The issue, however, is that as time has gone on, millennials gaming has changed quite a bit. Obviously, the way that you game changes with age. It changes with responsibility, it changes with the amount of people that live in your household, the type of person that you marry, the kids that you have. Back in the 2000s, if a new game had come out, I basically decided that I would spend that entire weekend beating that game, and I would do that. From the late 2000s to the early 2010s, I could on a whim just decide to text one of my friends and tell them to meet me online in whatever game we'd like to play, and we can go on playing online until 4 or 5 in the morning. But nowadays, millennial gaming is very different. It's a lot more casual, out of a lack of a better term. Many millennials no longer have the time to put up the effort that would make us the best in our craft. We need games to be simplified. We need them to be easier. We can't spend too much time spinning our wheels trying to solve a puzzle or overcome a difficult challenge because we only have 45 minutes of hour of playing every night. And nobody really knows this better than Nintendo. And you can kind of see it very clearly in the way their advertisements have evolved over the years. I think back to the GameCube era with this Pikmin 2 commercial. It was just good fun, right? This is coming off of the end of the Play It Loud era. Advertisements during this time frame were hilarious across the entirety of the video game industry. And many times they were just as memorable as the games that we were playing, the ones that they were advertising. But obviously Nintendo failed in this era. They did not do as well as they would have liked with the GameCube. Maybe failed is a bit harsh, but by Nintendo's own standards, there's a reason they had to pivot going forward. And that's obviously what led to the Wii. When you think about the early Wii days, there should be two things that come to your mind pretty quickly. Or at least, there are two things that come to my mind as far as the advertisements are concerned. The first thing was the reveal trailer for the Nintendo Wii. An advertisement that was pretty strictly focused on you understanding the concept of what this console is, what the magic behind it is, and what the potential of it is. It was made in a way to intrigue you, to make you want to go out and try this revolutionary tech. Motion control gaming, they said. Swishing and swooshing and seeing your character react the same way in turn. The advertisement was less about making you feel a certain way and more just straight up being a showcase of what's to come. And you saw it through all of the various We Would Like to Play advertisements that would show up on TV during the early Wii days. It's simple. The commercial told you exactly what was going to happen. You were going to put this controller in your hand and you were going to play tennis. You were going to play bowling. You were going to have a good time with the friends all around you. Because Nintendo was confident that the Wii Remote itself would sell this thing. It was similar to the DS. The focus for the Nintendo DS was not about the next-gen graphics like the PSP was doing. The whole idea was that as long as we can get this DS in their hands, they're not going to be able to say no. And they weren't, not for the DS nor for the Wii. And they actually tried to recreate this with the Wii U. The reveal trailer for the Nintendo Wii U in a lot of ways was very similar to what we saw with the reveal trailer for the Nintendo Wii. A showcase for what could be done with the gamepad, how gaming could potentially grow with this innovation. But the unfortunate thing for the Nintendo Wii U was that the marketing didn't quite land. And part of that is because with the original Wii, there were a lot of peripherals, a lot of add-ons, and every one of those things was called the Wii blank, like the Wii Fit. The games were Wii Sports. There was a Wii Wheel. So for all anyone knew, the next add-on for the Wii could have just been the Wii U. And unfortunately for Nintendo, the idea of having a tablet in addition to your gaming console just did not appeal to people the same way the Wii Remote Nunchuck did. Now during that era, you also had the 3DS, and while the 3D took a while to take off, You did get some advertisements that kind of flex the actual game itself and what the potential could be. There was a really good advertisement that I remember where some kid walks onto a bus and challenges another guy for the seat that he was sitting on. It was fun, it was entertaining, and it showcased the idea of being able to play against somebody on 3DS Smash Bros. But still, during the Wii U's life, Nintendo realized they had to completely pivot what they were advertising their consoles towards. The Wii crowd was not biting for the Wii U, so they started to pivot and aim towards the children. They effectively made commercials for kids, trying to teach them how to explain to their parents that the Wii U was a new console and try to get them to go and buy this new console for them. The problem is the timing of the Wii U didn't really help Nintendo's case. The average child was no longer focused on Nintendo, and part of that is because of the failure of the Wii U. But it's also because of all of the other avenues of gaming that became available for children. Tablets and smartphones. Minecraft's popularity was in full swing. And unfortunately for Nintendo, with all of the steam that ran out towards the end of the life of the Wii, many gamers that were casual, and a very large majority of Nintendo buyers are casual, had either decided they did not need another Wii, or they completely fell off of the Nintendo sphere altogether and had already purchased their next console, whether it was a PlayStation or an Xbox. Mostly PlayStation 4, obviously. So the kids were not buying the Wii U, nor were they asking their parents to buy it for them, and many of the millennials had very much grown out of the Wii U and potentially even grown out of gaming altogether. There was nobody left to buy this thing, and it seemed like there was very much no more hope for Nintendo, until we got to the Nintendo Switch. The Switch, just like the Wii before it, was very simple. When you watched that reveal trailer, you watched the ads for it, you were immediately enamored by it. See, during the Wii U era, the 3DS succeeded, and a very big reason why it succeeded is because it was handheld. So the Switch was already on the path of success just because it was a handheld. But when you add on to it the fact that it's a handheld that gets the full home console experience, and you can actually plug it into your TV and play something as magnanimous as Breath of the Wild. In that first trailer, before you even got a hold of this thing, you knew what it was and you knew it was going to be good. There was no sugarcoating it. This was a genius idea. You had a tablet, the controllers detached from it, you'd have two players wherever you go. They even had that little stand in the commercial where it showed that you can play it in the car. They had the rooftop party. Basically, in the same way that all of the advertisements around the Wii got people to know exactly what it was and make them want to buy it, the Switch reveal and the early commercials did the same thing. This was an innovation, and it was a way to get you to purchase the new console, to maybe jump back into the Nintendo circles because this could be your additional console with whatever other console you may already own. And for added measure, they showed how fun it could be to play it with your friends, even if all of you were in your mid-20s, late 20s, early 30s even. The showcase was still very much geared towards Millennial and maybe even the older Gen Zers. And it worked like a charm. But somewhere along the lines, the advertisements started to change a little bit. The focus stopped being about the tech, it stopped being about the experience, and they started to get a little feely, very nostalgia driven. You know, think of this Animal Crossing advertisement. It shows a student moving away. They're leaving all of their friends behind. It seems like they just finished a school year or a semester. But before the student leaves, she's gifted a Nintendo Switch Lite from her friend, and it has Animal Crossing on it. And it's a commercial to show you that you can still game online with your friend while you're away from them. This is a commercial that shows nothing about Animal Crossing, except for the fact that you can play it on this handheld device with your friends who are far away from you. This is in essence not an Animal Crossing commercial, it's an advertisement for the Switch. And its focus is primarily to get you to feel things, to feel like, oh, I could still be a child and play my games with my friend, even if we've moved on to different phases in our life. You know, like when Tears of the Kingdom comes out, it's a very different advertisement for Tears of the Kingdom than what we got for Breath of the Wild. And obviously it's because for Breath of the Wild, the advertisement was very clear. This was an open world, massive Zelda game. Just you seeing that alone would get you to buy the title. So for Tears of the Kingdom, we get this fun commercial of a guy in his mid-30s going through a midlife crisis, it seems. Work is tough, life is hard. But Nintendo's there, and Zelda's there, and when I was a kid, I used to play Nintendo games in Zelda, and I got all these long commutes. Weirdly enough, this ad is now privated. I wonder how memed it was that it got to that point. I love that even the Polygon article about it was like Nintendo made a Zelda Tears of the Kingdom ad about midlife depression. It is still available on X though, and if you watch the ad, you can really see how Nintendo is completely shifting their focus. It's no longer rooftop parties. That crowd has grown up. They're now busy. They have family, they have children, they have a boss that they probably don't like. You know, the stereotypical millennial life. And what's funny is I remember when this advertisement came out, I was kind of like, okay, like, where's the actual Tears of the Kingdom stuff in this? Again, it's just a guy who seems like he's really going through it in life, and this console is what's bringing him back to happiness. It's not about the game, it's about the feels. It's about getting your nostalgia. What's actually really funny is the person that shared this with me, and I believe this advertisement was from 2 years ago, was somebody that's about 6 or 7 years older than me. And I can't remember the exact text that he had sent, but I remember him saying how wholesome and relatable this was, and how happy he was that Nintendo was appealing to him. And obviously it worked. This guy is close to his 40s, and this ad is clearly directed at that kind of age group. And as time goes on, it seems like Nintendo is more and more focused on aiming and gearing their advertisements towards that age group because they know that that's the age group that's going to be spending the money on their games. And now it's not only about the ads, it's about the games themselves. There's a reason they've all become easier, because the games used to be aimed towards gamers, for lack of a better term, and now it's aimed towards parents and their children. So it's got to be easy enough for the mom or dad, or even somebody that doesn't have children, somebody older who doesn't have the time to game. It's got to be easy enough for them to pick it up and play for an hour or two and finish what they need to finish. But it also has to be simple enough for the 5-year-olds and the 4-year-olds that they're buying these consoles for, allegedly. And that's why you get some of the easiest co-op modes. They're not real co-op. It's the character gets to control the hat in Mario Odyssey, for example. The extra starbit pointer in Galaxy. This is all so that Nintendo could reach the adult that grew up playing these titles when they were 5, while also indoctrinating their 5-year-old child that's playing with the parent. I mean, it's actually brilliant on Nintendo's end, but it should also make people realize why games feel a lot easier today, and why there are so many things about the advertisements and the actual games themselves that feel like they're appealing to a much different crowd than what you might have felt during the GameCube era, or even some of the more hardcore gameplay experiences you had during the Wii and the Wii U era, and even the early Switch time. You know, another Switch commercial was the one about the holiday seasons where the family gets together and they brought a Switch with them. And you know, there's all this fun stuff you can do with grandma and grandpa and all the kids. But then at the end of the night, all the kids get together and they get to play Mario Kart. But hey, it's not just the kids. You can play with your parents, and everybody can have their own, and they can all sit in the room together and play together. This is not an advertisement for the game. It's barely even an advertisement for the console itself. It's an advertisement geared towards parents and grandparents, with a big Nintendo brand reminding them that, hey, it's the holiday season, and the exact same way that you used to grow up playing this stuff because grandma got you a Nintendo, it's time for you to buy it for your kids. It's all about the millennials. And while you can feel it kind of creeping in during the end of the Switch era, it really starts to show during the launch of the Switch 2. Think about the games so far. The big first-party stuff. Donkey Kong, Mario Kart World, Pokemon. All of these games have had one person or another comment about how simple they are. Whether it's the size of the map, how mindless it is to just mash your way through everything. In the case of Mario Kart, those intermission tracks that make it very easy for players to just kind of jump in and not have to really get good at anything. Look at the main advertisements that we've seen come up for it. 2 months ago, we got an ad called Better Together, Nintendo Switch 2. It's barely even a Donkey Kong commercial. It's a Switch 2 commercial, and it's not even about the tech or the hardware. It's just here to show you that your siblings or your kids will play these games together. And it's very sweet that they can share this moment. Buy them these consoles so that you can get all feely with the nice background music. Nintendo is about family. And you can kind of see it in the game too. I haven't played Donkey Kong, but from my understanding, there's a very big brother, little sister / dad and daughter kind of thing going with Donkey Kong and Pauline. Like, in what world is Donkey Kong meant to be that masculine figure for this little girl? Except when you consider it in the context of this is a game that's geared towards millennials that grew up playing Donkey Kong that probably have little children now, then it all starts to make sense. Nintendo is completely focusing on millennials more than anybody else. Who'd they bring to reveal the Switch 2? Paul Rudd? Yeah, I'm pretty sure if they made a Metroid movie and Miles Mckenzie was in that movie, Paul Rudd would play him. It's like, just do exactly what you did in Ant-Man, but now you are the sidekick in Metroid. Look at the names of these commercials. Better Together, Nintendo Switch 2. All Together, Anytime, Anywhere, Nintendo Switch 2. Breaking the Ice, Nintendo Switch 2. Everything about all of these ads, and really it's showing in the games now, and this is part of the reason people are complaining about them. None of this really showcases the hardware except for the fact that the hardware exists. This is all about feels. It's meant to get parents to look at it and buy it for their children, or it's meant to get older millennials that just don't have time to game anymore to be like, I remember I was happy when I played Nintendo. Maybe buying this $450 brick will make me happy again. And then it just all ripples down into the actual games themselves, and that's why so many of them are so easy now. I mean, like, this is what Disney does, right? Find a way to bring people that grew up with this stuff back into the movie theaters and always remember that they were happy in their childhood with Disney, so they can equate that happiness to Disney and then try to pass it on to their children. Remake the movies, make them live action, bring out a sequel, revisit something that hasn't been visited in 20 to 30 years. So all of this is to say is that I'm not surprised by the millennial humor in Metroid. Who do you think is going to be buying Metroid? The last one came out like 20 years ago. Either you're a really old Gen Zer or you're a millennial. But you're a hardcore gamer. You grew up with Metroid. You understand how Metroid should feel when you play it. The person Nintendo is trying to appeal to, that larger blue ocean of people that are just coming back into the game, may have not played a game as intense as Metroid since the previous Metroid trilogy. So they have to have somebody in there to lighten up the situation. They have to have somebody in there to point you in the direction you're supposed to go. Because that person, as a gamer now, is not the same gamer as they were 20 odd years ago. They don't have that time anymore. It's no longer a luxury they can afford to give up. Now, I will say that there is a chance, potentially, that this is only an introductory thing, and it doesn't last throughout the entire game. But I will also remind you all that leading up to the launch of Pokemon, everybody was absolutely certain that there was no chance the entirety of that game was going to take place in a single city. And look what happened. Or better yet, think about the launch of Mario Kart World, where everybody was like, well, if they're going to charge $80, there's very realistically a chance that we're going to be getting more DLC, especially coming into the holidays. I mean, now we're in mid-November and there's still no sign of any DLC coming from Mario Kart World, and I still think that we're not going to be getting any DLC from Mario Kart World anytime soon. And if anything comes from Mario Kart World, you're going to have to pay for it. Almost every single worry that people have had leading up to every single game released by Nintendo so far has come into full fruition. And sometimes it's even worse because they blindside you when you weren't even worried about something. I don't think anybody was worried about seeing that a free update for Donkey Kong, or an update that should have been free, ended up being a $20 DLC. I don't think anybody expected that in order to fully complete Pokemon, you effectively have to have a subscription to do so. Not to mention spend an additional $30 on top of the $70 you already spent. The point is that if Mckenzie is in the trailer and they're showing him, and they're showing all his jokes that he makes, and throughout a lot of what you're seeing in Metroid Prime 4 is giving you the idea that there are going to be characters around you helping you through the game, you absolutely cannot fault somebody for assuming that the entire game is going to be like this. And this might not matter to many Nintendo fans, because the reality is a lot of Nintendo fans have not played a Metroid game in 20 plus years, and maybe just don't have the time to game the way they used to. And if anything, when they hear the cubicle joke, they might actually feel like it's a relatable NPC. They might be like, hey, I like this guy, you know, like I've had a long day at work and he's making jokes and making me happy. Nintendo knows exactly what they're doing. The same way they're targeting all these ads at the people that they want to buy this thing. Those that are not hardcore gamers, because they do not have that crowd anymore. It's a console for casuals. But unfortunately for Nintendo, it's also a tough sell at $500 in order to get those casuals. And really the only reason there's an uproar right now about many of the things that are happening in these games and in these advertisements is because that's not who their focus is. The people that are buying the consoles now are going to buy it always, no matter what. They need to pivot. They need to reach those people that might not consider buying this thing. They gotta use their millennial humor to get the millennials into this console, along with their sappy and feel-good ads, along with their oversimplification of every single game that they're releasing. And I honestly don't think it's worth the uproar anymore. Miles Mckenzie is our friend now. We should accept that he is Nintendo. His whole personality represents what you should come to expect from this company. It's happened over time, but effectively we've gotten to a point where it's more or less no longer a company that's focused on the traditional gamer, no longer trying to compete against tablets and free-to-play titles in order to gain the children without getting their parents first. It's all about trying to find different ways to being appealing to that blue ocean crowd. The same crowd that loved the modern take on Star Wars, that loves all of the Marvel Cinematic Universe stuff that's happened over the years and how it's shifted and evolved. And most importantly, that remembers a time when they were younger and used to play Nintendo games and they were happy, and now their only focus is on how to make it so that they can pass that happiness onto their children by making them as obsessed with Mario as they are. And I'll tell you this straight up, as somebody who himself fits the target of every one of these advertisements, fits all of these decisions that Nintendo's making. Somebody that even fantasized about the idea of playing the same Nintendo games that I grew up with my children. The idea of being manipulated by ads from a corporation is so off-putting to me that I've gone from wanting to play Mario with my kids to probably avoiding introducing my kids to video games and Nintendo altogether, unless, you know, it gets to a point where they're like really asking for it. Quite frankly, for similar reasons, I've avoided introducing my kids to Disney stuff, and so far I feel like it's been a very good decision. I might have to find a way to introduce them to video games without getting them to be nearly as addicted as I am, because I especially want to avoid getting them sucked into the Nintendo and Disney nostalgia trap. I'll have to find a list of indie games to get my kids into this stuff. Or, you know, we can all just keep going outside and touching grass. Anyway, I'm actually very, very, very disappointed with what the potential of Metroid Prime 4 could look like. I'm very excited for that game. It was going to be a game that I was really looking forward to playing on my PC. I'll do it legally, don't worry. But now I'm definitely going to be putting off playing that title until I see some reviews. And not like critic reviews. I'm looking for reviews of actual gamers that actually enjoyed Metroid Prime games and are concerned and worried about Miles and breaking the whole vibe and atmosphere and aura that's supposed to come in with a Metroid game. But I guess for now, we'll just have to wait and see. Thank you so much for listening, and I will catch you on the next one.